everybody. Happy Norwegian Independence Day. And we're going to celebrate by eating pancakes and bacon. My husband is completely Norwegian with a little bit of German in him. My children have some Norwegian in them. I'm just a Heinz 57 mutt. That's okay. I know I got some family from Canada. They go so far back. I'm just kidding. Hi, welcome to my show. I'm Amber Delight Beck, also known as Perky, and we're mukbanging some pancakes. These are homemade from Johnny Beck, of course, and he is Norwegian. His mother was Norwegian, and he has an uncle named Thor and an aunt named Ringheld, and several aunts, I think. Aunts and uncles, like a Keith and a Terry, but it's spelled Terji, Terje or something like that. And his grandparents had like a full-out like Viking helmet on the mantle of their house in New York, and it was a massive head Viking helmet, and so he's directly related to Eric the Red. You could tell he's kind of violent. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, happy Norwegian Constitution Day. Independence Day, right? And he made these pancakes, and they're good. When I lived in Utah, hold on just a second, I forgot to get my drink. I always forget my drink when I'm filming these mukbangs, so I had to go fetch a drink. And I realized behind me I had left my closet like wide open for y'all to see what's inside. It's actually pretty tidy in there. It's just got a lot of stuff in there. Like, it's tidy, but it's there's a lot of clothes. We have different kinds of clothing. We have clothing for gigs when we're performing on stage. So, and then we have clothes that we packed for when we travel out of state to go and do these gigs. And then we have our clothes that are here. We have our church clothes and like all sorts of different kinds of clothes. Me, I'm just like, I just be fine with like 10 outfits and that's it. Let's just throw everything else away. But we kind of like to feel like we're shopping and stuff. So I'm like putting a lot of pressure on this plate to cut these pancakes. It's not that these pancakes are not very soft or anything. It's just, it's a flimsy table. So. So what's your favorite holiday? And what holiday do you celebrate? And what are some of the, what's it called when you do something all the time for the holiday? Traditions. What are your family traditions that you do for the holidays? Our family, we're Norwegian. My husband is, and our kids are, somewhat. So we have pancakes May 17th. It's not my favorite holiday, though. My favorite holiday is Christmas. Even though I was born in July, and I should be, and I'm like, my birthday's like exactly 2 weeks after the 4th of July. So you'd think I'd probably be like looking forward to my birthday, and so the 4th of July is like awesome and stuff, but I'm not really a big fan of hot weather. I like the cold. Born and raised in Utah. Our license plates say the best snow on earth, or the greatest snow on earth. And we have excellent snow. Park City, Sundance, all of the canyons in Salt Lake County. I'm from Utah County, so I don't know all of them, like Little Cottonwood or all that stuff. But I don't know where they all are. I don't go skiing a lot. I went skiing once. I went down a black diamond when I was 15 years old. It was the first time I'd ever gone skiing. I was trying to impress somebody, a man, of course. And so I'm going down the black diamond. Hadn't had enough time to even learn how to ski. I tumbled all the way down. And when I get up, I'd fall again. And I literally felt like I was going to break my ankles off because I kept falling and then my skis would twist and like land in all sorts of directions. And finally, the guy that I was trying to impress just said, I'll see you at the bottom of the hill. And I wasn't even halfway done following. So other people throughout going down the Black Diamond just had to help me up. And then I'd go, and then someone else, all the way down. That sucked. That was like the worst, one of the worst things ever. And I remember coming back from that trip feeling like my hips were like in a lot of pain, and my ankles hurt a lot. They weren't broken, but they just hurt. I never ever wanted to go skiing, snowboarding, or anything again. We did go snowboarding. Me and my family went snowboarding maybe that next winter, and we went to this place called Bicentennial Park. It just has like this little bunny hill slope that you can practice that on, and I practiced that, but I was cured. I was cured to never ever ski or snowboard ever again, ever. Back in that same time frame of my life when I was 15, there's a mountain out in Utah County called Mount Timpanogos. And to hike up to it, to the top, is about 4.5 hours, and then 4.5 back. And I was at the time in a group home, and the family teacher was a captain in the National Guard. So we're all a girls group home. It's an all-girls group home. And so we all got to go hike to the top of this mountain, Timpanogos. And he brought MREs and all that stuff. And in order to climb to the top of these mountains, you had to climb up some really sharp rocks, really steep inclines and things like that. Well, you get to the top, and there you are, and there's this little shack, and sometimes on a really sunny day while you're down in the valley driving on the freeway or something, you could see a reflection from the sun on the top of this mountain. But it's so tall. I think it's over 10,000 feet high. Maybe even 11. I think it's like 10 something. And so, you're thinking 2 miles straight up, right? Anyway, so you get up there, and people carve their names in that and stuff, and we saw like wild mountain goats and stuff. That was really cool. And on our way back, the fastest way to get down was to slide down glaciers. So we used these MRE plastic wrappers, and we sat on them and went down these glaciers, and it was so steep, and it was so stupid to go down these glaciers on such a steep grade incline. And I just went so fast going down that glacier on that MRE pack that I lost my balance, and I just spun out of control and scraped my arms up in the snow, because it had been there for a long time. It was hard snow, so it was like scraping. It was like road rash everywhere. It was awful. It was so bad. But they did have a lake that was like 3/4 of the way up there that Boy Scouts they'll hike to, and it's called Emerald Lake. We did stop there on the way up. Gorgeous lake. It was so clear. I've never seen any lake that clear in my life. But you'd have to hike to it to get to it. It's probably a good 2.5 hour hike to the lake, because it was 4.5. No, it'd be like 3 hours. Anyways. I think we went to go and hike that Timpanogos mountain twice, and the second time around, we just went to the Emerald Lake and came back. We didn't finish the hike. But when we came back, they had this place called Howie's, where you can get these huge burgers. These huge hamburgers are like this big around for 49 cents. And then they had these fries that went with it. Howie's fries. Oh my gosh. Howie's is known for their root beer. And you get root beer to go with your meal and stuff. It was really good. We'd worked up the appetite for it. Super crazy. Super crazy. Being in that group home, man, that was some crazy days. Let's see. I was a huge snacker when I was a 15-year-old, maybe 14. I was hungry all the time. So they had this pantry, and they'd keep cookies and protein bars and stuff like that in the pantry. And they must have known that I had a snacking and stealing problem like that. I was going to steal snacks. Maybe they counted cookies from the cookie jar. I'm not kidding, from the cookie jar. Excuse me. But I would seriously go into the pantry and just go and take something, and they'd find out. The family teachers would find out. Literally from the cookie jar, like, who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? I laugh at that song like it's something they teach, like, preschool kids. Someone stole the cookie from the cookie jar. Who, me? No way, or something. Not me. Then who? And then he blames someone else. Anyways, I felt like that song was about me. When I got caught, when you're in the group home, you're on a point card system. And when you're new in the group home, you have to earn 10,000 points. And it's really hard. It's really hard to do enough work to earn 10,000 points in a week. I think it's in a week. And then the higher up you go, then the lesser points you have to build in each day. So when you're on 10,000 points, you're always going without a privilege, because most people, and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just in the wrong mindset, but most people couldn't make 10,000 each week. And then I think if you could make 10,000 consecutively in several weeks in a row, then you could move to the next level of point card system. But when you get caught stealing, whether it's cookies from a cookie jar or something more valuable, the concept is taking without asking. And I knew they'd say no if I asked, because, there's several girls there. If one person gets a cookie, then everyone does, and I'm sure they were trying to save it. And on top of that, like, I was getting heavy, and anyway, so that's besides the point. 50,000 negatives if you do something like steal or lie or something they would consider big. You get 50,000 negatives. And if you want to make up for that, you write reports. There were, I don't know how many times I had to write a report about Honest Abe turning around and giving a penny back to the cashier that, like, he walked a mile away, realized he was given 1 penny too much, so he turned around and went and gave the extra penny back. Back in those days, a penny was worth more than it is now, probably worth $100 or maybe $50. But they're trying to show us our scale of what a penny would have been. Anyway, I had to write 10-page reports about that. I had to write 10-page reports about George Washington cutting down the cherry tree and having to tell his father who did it and all that stuff. So many page reports. And those ones, I would be able to gain back about 8,000 points for those. It depends. It depends on how the family teachers were feeling. It would be anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 or 8,000. Like, it was something like, if they were feeling ornery and didn't want you to make it, or like if they feel like you have to keep learning this lesson, you're not going to earn as much, which I had to keep learning that lesson because I kept getting caught stealing cookies from the cookie jar. So a report would give you about 3 to 5, maybe at best 8,000 points back. Then you would have to do like a 3-hour task. And they were actually really nice to me. They had a couple of dogs. They were Cocker Spaniels, and they'd let me just go out and groom them and brush their fur and stuff. So that was fairly easy. But there were times where they had me scrubbing the grease spots off of the inside garages, the 2-car garage inside the house, inside. And I had to use this pink wax stuff, and I had to scrub it with this horse brush looking thing for 3 hours, and I'd make 10,000 points back from the 50,000 negatives. Oh my gosh. So if you got caught stealing, you can literally think for 2 weeks your life was going to be a living hell. On top of going to school, on top of everything else that you're supposed to work on and making your 10,000 points, you had to make sure that you were making up for the 50,000 negatives. And you had 0 privileges until you made it to the positives. So, like, maybe that third week, you'd have, like, 2,000 points positive after you sweated really bad for a couple weeks. And maybe you'd have some, like, 2,000 points. And you had to buy your privileges with the points that you have. So, if all the points, all the privileges you can get by 10,000 points, and you can think of how many points 2,000 points would buy you. Like, it wasn't much. Like, maybe a snack after dinner, or TV time, or leisure time, whatever it is. There's so many different rules. We had cards for chore cards, and we'd have to read them, and then have like 12 steps of cleaning the bathroom. And there was like a manager of the week or something, and the person who was like leader of the week or manager of the week or whatever, chore person of the week, they had to go and check everyone's chore and inspect that behind the toilet was washed, inside the toilet was washed, the hair was out of the drains, like everything, the mirrors were wiped down, the floor was swept and mopped, the corners were scrubbed, everything was like, and that's just the bathroom. Like, I'm talking about every single room was like that. There was one room that had a huge display of mirrors behind it, and the couch, you had to make sure you dusted it, you had to wash the mirrors with newspapers and Windex or vinegar. And there was a hardwood floor, like, entryway. You had to make sure, like, if that was your chore, you had to make sure that that was all nice and polished. Like, it was teaching you discipline, and I understand it. And I, like, at this point now, I'm like, that was really a good thing. It was a really good thing because when you have a problem stealing cookies from the cookie jar, you probably have a problem stealing everything else too, which I know I did have. And I feel like this is, like, a universal lesson. If you want to cure somebody of something they're doing that's not appropriate or whatever, like breaking boundaries, if they're stealing, if they're lying, if they're being inappropriate, like even the sex offenders, how do you get them to stop? The only way you get them to stop is holding them accountable and having line of sight supervision on that person, catching them in the act, holding them accountable. And I got held accountable over and over and over and over. I don't know how many times, like countless times. I don't even remember. I was always on site. I was there for like a year and a half. I got out when I was 15 is when I got out. So right before I think I turned 14. I think it was 13, almost 14. Then I went till I was 15, moving on to 16. But I was there for a little over a year and a half, I think. Or a little less than a year and a half. Anyway, I was there for a long time. And I'm sure they caught me, like I know that they caught me several times, because there were several times either I'd forfeit going home to see my family on weekends, or I'd be grounded on my visitations to go home. And I hated not being able to call my mom. Like, that was probably the most memorable thing. It was like there were times that you couldn't just pick up the phone and talk to your mom whenever you need to, or something like that. Like, there's just there was rules, there was disciplines, there were things that would train you how to react and be more suitable for the world, having more ethic and that kind of stuff. So it was really good for me. It was really good for me coming from the slums, having certain pattern behaviors, lying, stealing, just being that kind of person. I don't feel like I would have ever been a person with integrity had I not been taught how to have integrity. And that was by being caught. That was by getting caught over and over and over again. And all those book reports, I'm telling you, 10-page book reports of Abe Lincoln. I mean, like, I seriously had to BS stuff so bad just to get through it. Because it was like the pages of, like, the book, it was like a children's book almost. Like, it was probably a 35-page tall-size book with pictures and stuff. And I had to write 10 pages so I had to, like, really use my mind on what does this mean, like, so it was a lot of reflecting and a lot of BSing. I'm sure the family teachers knew, too, but even to this day, like, I have so much respect for them. I have really good parental examples. My family teacher, who was the captain in the National Guard, had a lot of influence of why I joined the Army when I was 20. How old was I? My son was almost 4. So I would have been 22 or 23 when I joined. I was old for somebody. You know, a lot of people who join the military join right out of high school. So they called me Mama Haas. because I was like one of the older soldiers, and I'd already had kids, and most of the soldiers that I went to basic training and AIT with were still single, or they were parents, but they were younger parents, or they were in a younger place, you know. Because I was a young parent. I started out having kids. I got married when I was 18 and was pregnant before I turned 19. At a very young age. Very immature, not ready. Oh no. And when I see people who are my age that were saying that want to go and get married, and I just kind of go, if I could show you what I thought, you know, because I thought that I was mature enough. But I wasn't, and I wish I could have taken time and gotten to know the Amber outside of the 9 to 5 school day type of thing. Oh, the good thing about being in the group home too, another good thing about being in the group home was they make sure your grades are above a C, and if it wasn't above a C, then you would also be put on like the same negative systems. But they even threatened to go to your classes with you if you slept, or if you weren't getting your classes, your work turned in, or you weren't doing your homework or something like that. They threatened that they were going to go to your classes with you. So my attendance was impeccable. My grades were really good. Really good. And I didn't take any electives while I was in high school with them, like at the group home. I just took all classes that I need, like mandatory classes to graduate. So that when I got out of the group home and I started going to, I did a post on this already on one of the other mukbangs where I was kind of talking about how I was sloughing a lot at Timpview. Timpview was after I was in the group home. So being in Timpview, I was sloughing Timpview, hanging out at Provo High School with friends. But because there was that whole, I think almost a whole semester or a whole year, there were classes I couldn't get my GPA up. Like I couldn't get my overall scores up for like that year until like it was my junior year. So it was that sophomore year that I was struggling. Like until they put me at Independence, and then I was able to pass a lot of classes, but there was a whole entire semester I wasn't doing well. And I ended up going to Independence, and all I had to do was just take one health class, and I was able to graduate. And I blame, or I give credit to the group home, because those classes were all there. So like what was left when I was a junior and senior was a few more of those like absolute accredited classes you have to graduate. But I had room for a lot of electives. So my last 2 years I was able to kind of goof off a lot and not slough, but like not be like math, you know, English, or history or whatever. But I never knew that when I got older that I would love history the way that I do now. Like I wish that was an emotion I had as a teenager. Now, as a grown up, I love history. I love things that are historical. I love to remember, like hear about humanity and stuff like that, and what's gone on, what has happened before us. I love that stuff, but I did not love going to class. I didn't love being told when to go somewhere. I didn't like not having the decisions, you know, to show up to school or not. Like we had to go. Like if you don't go to school, you go to truancy school for sloughing, or you get in trouble or fined and that kind of stuff. I don't like somebody imposing on my freedom that way, and that's probably why I'm so adamant about school choices that I have now, because it's like, no, I'm making up for all the choices I didn't get to make when I was a kid. I didn't like it. I did not like having to go to school, and there wasn't anything anyone could do about it except going every single day. And emotionally, I felt traumatized by it because it was stinky. I lived in poverty. I was a stinky kid. My clothes smelled like pee. You know, it was like, I was a stinky kid. And other kids are rude to stinky kids, and I did not want to be where all these other kids are, like, poking fun of me and stuff. I didn't like that I didn't have the choices, and then on top of that, I had a very loving grandmother at home. My mom was home sometimes, and I didn't want to leave them. Like, it was traumatizing to not be with them. Why would you leave arms of people who care and love you to go be put in the midst of people who make fun of you and don't love you or don't know anything about you, won't get to know anything about you because you stink. Yeah. You know, it was horrible. So that was kind of the situation. I didn't want to go to school, and I had to every single day. I had to. And I don't think that that's always the necessary, like, everyone does public school now because the world was getting people ready to do jobs in factories 9 to 5, getting them used to that workload, that work system, and it's so different now. It's not, people are doing different shifts. There's a lot of graveyard shifts. I work graveyards. My music career is a graveyard shift, and that doesn't work for me, getting up at school morning hours and stuff like that. So, like, I don't mean to go off. I'm like on this crazy tangent. Anyways, good times. I'm eating these pancakes. I'm enjoying this bacon. It's really good. Just hold on just a second. Sorry about that. I have to answer an important phone call. Anyways, I was on this crazy tangent, and I'm really sorry about that. I'm not trying to make anyone feel uncomfortable. I absolutely do think that education is very important. Intelligence is like something it's important to me to have intelligence. It's important to me to learn all you can, especially like this concept of getting to know other people's points of views by reading books. I'm a huge fan of book reading. I'm a huge fan of knowledge. Like, I believe knowledge is power in some ways, in most ways. I don't think knowledge will, like, buy you, like, a ton of compassion, though. Like, that's got to be something you have inside of yourself, whether you're smart or not. But, I absolutely believe in knowledge and that stuff. So, I'm not trying to come across as saying that I don't think education's important. I definitely do. I'm pro-education. I'm just saying that I think there's other ways to become intelligent. Besides sticking your kids in a school with 30 other kids, I know kids fall through the cracks then. I know they do. I've seen it. I've seen kids fall through the cracks, and they don't get taught how to read, or they don't get taught how to be literate, and I feel like that's, not acceptable in a school system, and I don't think that's acceptable overall if you're trying to teach your children, if you're trying to teach the nation's children to become better. Why are you putting them in a system where there's 30 kids in a class? One teacher, seriously? No way. It doesn't happen. I guarantee you there's several kids losing out on something that could be better for them. But that's not up to me. I do think I'm an advocate for reading. Absolutely. Get your butt out there and read. Read everything you can. Anyways, it was so political and debative. Anyway. You guys, thanks so much for tuning in. These pancakes are delicious. I'm kind of picking at them. I don't mean to do that. We're on a topic that's, like, near to me. Like, I really, like, it's something that I'm, like, all about. So, so happy Norwegian Constitution Day. And as it's been said that Eric the Red was the one who founded, was it Maryland? Vineland. Before Christopher Columbus. But doesn't get all the credit for it like Christopher Columbus does. My husband's directly related to him. Like, his lineage goes straight to Leif Erikson. So, these pancakes are awesome. Anyways, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, I'm so sorry, but thank you so much for tuning in and watching. We're on 29 minutes now, guys. So thank you for being consistent or lasting this long. And you're welcome to give it a thumbs down or whatever. Even if it really bothers you, you don't have to watch, and that's cool. Whatever. We'll keep it real. Alright, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Thumbs up, thumbs down, hit subscribe if you like. And we'll see you on the next video coming up. Stay tuned. Bye-bye. Mwah.